Hey guys, this is Leigh with teachingacademia.com, and today I'm hopping in here to share some of the details about my latest book. So I wanted to start here by giving you a little bit of a backstory about what the book is about so that when I'm talking about it going forward, right, you have that for reference. This is a bit unusual, okay? So like I said before, I don't have a contract yet, but I was approached by an editor from a academic publishing house, right? And so the editor had this idea that I should do my book, but write it in a way that makes it accessible for pretty much anybody. Okay. So what's different about this, of course, is that it's an academic publishing house, but they are going to be, I guess, producing a book, right? My book, and there's going to be other books in this series. It's just mine is going first. That's the goal, right? Is to present that research in an accessible, friendly manner that anybody can understand. All right. So you shouldn't have to be an expert in my field to understand the book. So what this means, right, is that I have to write in a way that's very, very different from what I'm used to doing. Because as an academic, we are by and large, I'm speaking very broadly here, of course, but by and large, right, we're told to take ourselves out of the equation. So when I write, research, when I write up research, for example, right, I don't have my own personal reflections or thoughts or anything in there, okay? Yes, there are journals that allow for that, but when I'm writing a traditional research paper, that's not what I do, right? I might, if I talk about myself, and I do write in the first person, I keep it very fact-based. I did, this many interviews, this is how I found participants, right? This is how I administered assessments. This is how I engaged in observations. But I don't ever really tell you anything more than just the facts, okay? And then obviously my analysis and interpretation as it relates to my research question. But again, I remove myself from that, except to say things like, when I interviewed so-and-so, here's what they said, right? That's it. So what I'm supposed to be doing with this book is inserting myself a little bit more, well, a lot more. And my editor and I really struggled with this because he knew that they wanted this book series to be accessible to everybody. But, as far as like style and tone, they didn't really have any good models for me to go on. And it was sort of like, go ahead and write your 2 sample chapters and do the prospectus. And, we can talk at any point. And, I wrote my 2 chapters in my prospectus and I sent it off in the fall. And he followed up with me and said, you know what? This is too good. Like, it's too polished. It's too structured. I essentially said to him, it sounds like you're telling me that these chapters are too well written. And he's like, yeah, that is basically what I'm telling you. I've never heard that in my life, right? Like, hey, you did too good of a job here. You're going to have to start over and do it again. That's crazy, right? But that is what happened to me. And so when I looked back at what I had sent him was something that, yes, it was accessible and easy to read, and it was clear and concise and well organized, all those things. But the tone was still very academic-y. It was really written like I was writing for practitioners in my field, right? So I'm in education, so it would have been like I was writing an article that I wanted a teacher to be able to digest and know, how to apply the information. And that's not what we were going for, right? We're going for something even broader, right, than that. I want anybody with any background to be able to pick up the book and get something out of it. So anyways, I felt stuck. He felt stuck. We just knew that it wasn't right. And so actually, I'm going to pause this. Hold on. I'm going to run and get a book and I will be right back. I'm going to show you what happened here. All right. So I'm back. I'm going to show you a book in a second. What happened is over the Thanksgiving break, right, the former CEO of Zappos passed away. And I was reading about that article and it referenced his book, which I'm going to show you right here, Delivering Happiness. And I thought, that sounds like an interesting book. I think I'll just read it, right? I just bought it just to read. And it really is a memoir, even though he starts off a little early in his life and his childhood. And then he talks about, right, how he grew and developed, as an entrepreneur. but it's written as a memoir, and it's really interesting and engaging. And every once in a while he has to explain a concept that, somebody outside of his area wouldn't be super familiar with, but he does that really easily and well, and it's great. And so when I read this book, I thought, this is it. This is the style that I want to write in. And so I contacted my editor and I said, I've gotten Tony's book. I've been reading it. I think this is the style that we want to go for. I said, what we really want to do here is something that I'm calling a research memoir. Okay. And he agreed with me. My editor agreed with me. So what we really are going for here is this style where, yes, I am using my data. I'm talking about particular things in this book, right, that are relevant or related, connected to data, interviews, observations, assessments, etc. But I'm writing it in a memoir style, and I am really inserting myself, I should say, right, into the book. So what do I mean by that? What do I mean by inserting myself? So I'm going to pull up a little something. I'm not going to screen share it. I'm just going to share it with you for a second, what I did here. So excuse me, one of the things that my editor said was, hey, when you're writing about something, particularly something that someone did in your study that's very interesting, impactful, mind-blowing, feel free to riff on it. Feel free to talk about what you thought about that in that moment, or what you think about it now, or how you've understood it in terms of your own career. And that took some getting used to. But so, for example, today I was working on this paragraph where the student was talking about how, her teacher had spent all this time providing instruction to help her be able to better understand the things that she had to read in school. And in this particular exchange, the student's telling me, it really doesn't matter. I was trying to find out if the student understood and was utilizing the information that the teacher provided. And the student said, it really doesn't matter if I understand it or not. That's irrelevant. What the student said was that what I needed to understand was that she was never going to use this stuff, and she had reasons for it. Okay. And so I wrote all that out, and then I start into the fact that, hey, that comment caught me off guard, which it did. Like, that happened during my dissertation. It happened in 2003. I can still remember that moment today. It was such a pivotal, impactful moment on my career. And so then I take the next paragraph and I just explain, hey, this comment blew my mind, right? I used to hold certain assumptions about how kids used instruction that their teachers were giving them. And I lay out what those were, and so I talk more about how, right, this exchange with this student really unraveled me, right? And it really challenged all of my beliefs and assumptions about instruction and how students do and do not make use of it. And, it raised questions for me, and I put those in there. And so those are things that typically we don't do, right? We might put in questions, right? Like such and such's experiences or statements raise particular questions for us. But I just put myself in there and I said, this is what happened. This is how I thought about it. This is how it really blew my mind. And this is what it led me to think. Okay. And that's where I've left off today with it. I'm going to be inserting a lot of my own backstory inside this book. And really all I can say is that right now it's fun. It's super new. So of course it's still fun at the moment, but I'm really excited, and I'm really excited that you're here to share this journey with me.